When we started our children's cancer unit in the 1970s, one of the things that we needed was we had all the facilities to treat the children, but we didn't have any of the extras. We didn't have anything to buy books to educate ourselves or even to do little bits of research. So we found a group of parents, all of whom had been affected by children with cancer, and I persuaded them that they should try and raise a small amount of money to help us. They called this the North of England Children's Cancer Research Fund. Having done that, we needed to raise more money. The first year we raised a few £100 to start with, but then it was quite clear we had big ambitions. So then along came Colin and his ideas about how we might raise a lot more money through what we called the Children's Cancer Run.
My involvement started when my son had cancer, and Alan put us in the direction of the North of England Children's Cancer Research Fund, which actually had an additional benefit of being a supporting group between the group of parents who had cancer. And when my son went to King's School, they asked whether he needed protection. I went in and spoke to him, said I want him treated like a normal child. We got round to talking about NECCR, and they said, why don't we have an event at school for them? And I agreed, and it was thought to be a garden party or a race night. And then I was run in the evening, and a suggestion was made we should have a run. And that sounded a cracking idea to me, and it sounded a cracking idea to them, and that's what we did.
There were a small group of us, people who became sort of movers and shakers, in the area, got together in a house, in someone's dining room, and thought, how can we do this? Three things struck me from that. One was enormous enthusiasm for those that were going to try and do it. Secondly, the editor of the Evening Chronicle said, this can't be done, you'll never do it, don't waste your time. And also a young man who was busy organising the Great North Run, young Brendan Foster, said it'll never work. So I think we proved two of them wrong, and those that were very enthusiastic have gone on to keep the Children's Cancer Run going for all of these years.
Yes, from my point of view, it was about friendship. And at that time of my life, with my son having cancer, I asked all of my friends if they'd be prepared to help. And they nearly all did. And they all did for a period of 36, 38 years, till they couldn't bend down and touch the ground. And nobody begrudged it at all, and we populated the car parks, the information office, the crossover points where people, the runners had to go over where there was traffic. And it's a very endearing part of my life that group of people, including the Novos rugby team that I'd played with, virtually turning out on Hull to populate the car park. So it was a very humbling period of life and a true value of friendship.
NECCR raised a whole lot of money in a whole number of directions, but the Children's Cancer Run was the major fundraiser of the year. This enabled us to build our Children's Cancer Research Unit up, and because of my work I often used to go around the world to meetings and things, and people would say to me, people from the big prestigious units in Berlin and Paris, they would say, how on earth do you, who seem to come from a little corner of England, how do you manage to do this? How are you, leading researchers? And I said, it's entirely because we have the support of the people of the Northeast. The people of the Northeast they're probably not unique. There are probably other places that got very similar people, but they are incredibly generous, but they're incredibly careful, or canny as they're called up here. They like to raise money, they like to help people, but they like to do it where they are. They like to raise money locally for local causes. And if you can actually add to what you're saying to them, that not only are you raising money for good causes here, which are benefiting the children of the Northeast, if you tell them they're actually being missionaries as well, that the treatment that we develop here is actually being used around the world, including the United States. But treatments that we've developed here in Newcastle are now being used for the benefit of children all over the world, and that's because of the generous people of the Northeast. Well, it's been going on for 40 years now, and it's because it's become part of the fabric of the Northeast. There can't be many people who you talk to in this area who either haven't done it themselves or somebody in their family has done it.
Well, I think it's enjoyed such a long history, really for a simple reason. It's a very, very happy occasion, and it's for a wonderful, effective cause. And when we talk to all the people working on the run, we encourage them to be talkative, friendly, and there's a lot of very intelligent people helping the thing. And it comes over as just a warm occasion, and everyone ends with a bit of a glow. They've done something good for a day in their lives, and they've enjoyed it as well.
My fondest memory is the time, not strictly because of the run, but because of the NECCR and the run, was working with a colleague, Jenny Kernahan. She looked after the children with leukemia, I looked after the children with the other sorts of cancer. And when it became obvious that children were beginning to survive, and people said, well, they survived, but are they all right? I said, yeah, they're cured. And how do you know they're cured? Because they're beginning to have babies. And Jenny and I had something of a competition, that in her office, in her clinic, she would put the pictures of the babies that had been born to the children that had had cancer. She'd put them on a board. So I started doing the same thing. And we had a little celebration when between us we had 100 children who had been born to children that had had cancer. And that to me was a tremendous landmark, that not only are we treating children, but they're normal, they're having children. So that was one of my greatest warm feelings.
One of the events that stands out for me is that a year came when foot and mouth hit the country, and Gosforth Park rang us and said, you can't have the run. So a group of us got together and we looked at all sorts of different venues. I believe we included Alnwick Castle as well, didn't we? We looked at Alnwick Castle. And somebody one of the members of the committee, I think, had a connection in South Shields, and South Shields were enthusiastic to do it. Now, it was pretty short notice. At memory, we had to do it in about 3 months or something like that. And once again, Jill Foyster, this wonderful woman who was doing the administration, did a lot of work. And we debunked down there and did it along the front at South Shields. And it was the best weather we ever had. It was the most glorious blue sky, and one of the biggest problems was having enough water on the course. But setting the course up was so hard, and Robin Heron, who was the TA officer, who was responsible for setting the course up, I remember waiting to press the start button. There was no sign of Robin, and he was out on the course, and of course we had a procedure which everyone came back and reported whether the run was starting. And he wasn't there, and the run started, and he strolled in, and all the course was set up perfectly. But we had to make certain people were very, very hot, and it was again managing the traffic. It was a great success. I think we had about 6,000 or 7,000 people, but it showed the flexibility of mind of the people who ran it. It was quite good fun.
And it was also the importance of keeping the thing going.
Yes, yeah.
By that time, our research had become very heavily dependent on the money coming in from the Children's Cancer Run, £200,000.
Yeah.
And you've got to find, if you've got that much coming in, you've got to do something to keep it coming in. Otherwise, our research would have faltered. So, very important.
Yeah.
It's in a tremendously good cause, and it's been going so long now that we've built the infrastructure for the Children's Cancer Unit. We've got the evidence that 85% now of children survive their cancer, and that has not been possible without the support of people, and in this instance people of the North East. So it's a very warm feeling, and that's why people should go on doing it. They help us to play our part in the global challenge of children's cancer.
Well, people should join for fairly succinct reasons. It's an absolutely joyous occasion, and it's a rite of passage of young people so they can say to their mates, "Are you doing the children's cancer?" And of course it's for a wonderful cause which Alan's just described.
The Children's Cancer Run will continue as long as we need to do children's cancer research. And there's no evidence that we're actually got to the stage where children don't need treatment. They always need new sorts of treatment, kinder treatments. In the early days, the treatments were really pretty harsh. Nobody liked them. Now they're for most cancers, are much more user-friendly. We've got to find better ways of treating children with less side effects. And we're not there yet. We won't be there till we can cure 100% of children with very little in the way of side effects. And even then it would be better to prevent it in the first place. At the moment we're nowhere near understanding what causes childhood cancer, let alone how to prevent it. So I think there'll be a need for a little while yet, probably a long while yet. So the Children's Cancer Run will go on.
Everyone's life is touched by cancer, increasingly more so as we all get older, and the very word makes people want to help. And getting children to help at an early age is good. It's good in their formative years, and they're immensely proud when they've done either their mile or their 5 miles.